Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to this special edition of APTN National News. Senator Mary Jane McCallum spent her career providing dental care to First Nations in northern Manitoba. And in late February, she honored 19 First Nations and Métis individuals who have made significant contributions with the King Charles III Coronation Medal. Sierra Bettens was at the ceremony and brings you more.
Inside each of you resides our spirit that continues to be a source of direction, faith, and wisdom for many. You are leaders, you are change agents, and today we celebrate and uphold you as individuals who have made life better.
Senator Mary Jane McCallum selected 19 First Nations and Métis individuals in Manitoba to receive a King Charles III Coronation Medal. From artists to nurses to land-based educators, their backgrounds are diverse, but collectively, McCallum says they've contributed over 1,000 years of service at the grassroots level. They received their medals on Thursday evening at Manitoba's Government House.
When our people were kept out, we always had the right to have to come here. And now, today, you are taking over that space, you're reclaiming it, and you celebrate.
Lorraine Daniels, who comes from Long Plain First Nation, was honored for her work as the executive director of the National Indigenous Residential School Museum.
The work that I've done is it's both personal and professional. I'm a survivor, and that really touches my heart that I'm working in a former residential school and which is turned into a museum. So it was from a place of hurting to now to a place of healing.
Another awardee was Red River Métis community leader Lucille Bruce, who has spent 3 decades establishing initiatives for Indigenous women, children, and seniors in Winnipeg.
When I first started that work in the early 90s, there was such few culturally relevant programs and services in Winnipeg for Indigenous women and children. So I had the opportunity and the honor to establish amazing programs that provided supports in culturally relevant ways to a lot of Indigenous women and children in Winnipeg.
For Damon Johnson, the president and CEO of the Aboriginal Council of Winnipeg, giving back gives him purpose.
If I engage with younger people, I try to encourage them and think about, like, okay, so you've gone out, you've got a decent education, you got some kind of credentials. Think about how you might give back to your community.
Doris Bear rose from receptionist to health director of the Peguis First Nation. In that time, she witnessed how community leadership transformed the healthcare system.
We know our needs and wants, so we don't allow, like the federal government, Health Canada, or FINIB, like if you want to say, to tell us what to do. We know what we want. We know our own community needs.
The ceremony closed with drumming by Denny Cree awardee Victor Tizazi, joined by his father and son. As an artist, educator, and musician, his mission is helping the next generation learn and heal.
My teaching is to break that cycle and, that there's a better life and to do that is through our culture, through our getting back into our roots. Like I'm saying, I'm Dene. Now I know that I am Dene. I'm where there's no surface and the earth. I'm a spiritual being becoming an earth being.
30,000 Canadians will receive King Charles III Coronation Medals, which are distributed by government officials and organizations to recognize outstanding individuals. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Cree author David A. Robertson is leading a new Indigenous-led publishing line of books through Penguin Random House Canada. It's called Swiftwater Books, and it will publish youth and children's books by Indigenous authors and artists. Here again is reporter Sierra Bettens, who found out more in her interview with Robertson.
I was talking with my friend Cherie Demeline, who's also an Indigenous writer, and we were talking about all the writers who came before us who opened doors. So like the real icons, like Tom King or Richard Wagamese and Lee Maracle and Maria Campbell, and because Cherie and I were at the point then where we had a pretty good platform that was growing for ourselves, and we felt like it was something that we wanted to use to give back and to make sure we were opening doorways for new and emerging talent as well. So we came up with the idea of an imprint. There's very few requirements. The first thing is you have to be Indigenous. So, you have to in some way be able to articulate your ancestry. And so every author, every artist is going to be from the Indigenous community at large. The books themselves have to be educational, so they have to be something that can be used in the classroom or in an educational setting that has something to offer. And of course, Indigenous storytelling always has incredible morals and teachings in them. So that's kind of like they kind of come with storytelling, so we're not too worried about that. And then we want all the books to be for youth, because I think youth are the greatest instruments of change in our society, especially when they're given knowledge, and I think books give that to them. So my dad's a big influence on my career. He's a big influence on my life, and a lot of teachings he gave me when I was younger and as an adult, I've carried with me. My dad, he lived on the chap line when he was younger, and so he used to call the river that ran by where he lived as a kid, and he used to always call the river, the waterways, Swiftwater. And so I just love that name, and it reminds me a lot of my dad, and so it seemed like there's this fluidity in our storytelling too as Indigenous people, and so Swiftwater seemed like the perfect name for the imprint, and it also is a perfect way to honor my dad. What I want to do with the imprint is to break down a lot of those barriers. And so one thing that Swiftwater is going to do is we're going to, we don't require writers to be agented. We don't need you to send in a traditional query. You just have to send us an email. Just let us know what your project is about, what the story is, what you want to accomplish with it. Send us a sample of it, and just let us read through it. And if we like it, then we'll pursue it. And if we don't, I still want to give everyone feedback on what might not work and how they can improve, because I also want it to be an imprint that helps writers improve and to help them find pathways to publishing, even if it's not with us. We want to make sure that the publishing industry is more accessible to everybody, especially young Indigenous talent or emerging talent. People could send in submissions starting now. We've been actually taking submissions unsolicited and solicited for the last 2.5 years. We've been working on it for 2.5 years, getting it all ready. And now that it's out there in the world, people just need to go to our website, Swiftwater Books, and they can submit their work. With the Indigenous content that we're putting out, we really do think that we're going to make a difference in the long run.
In the heart of Montreal's busiest tourist neighborhood, dozens of souvenir shops offer a variety of mass-produced trinkets. However, one shop stands out, not only for its authentic Indigenous offerings, but also for its alignment with the Cree Nation's goal of accelerating their economic freedom. Kim Sullivan has that story.
From the storefront, it looks like yet another souvenir shop in Montreal's busiest tourist neighborhood, the Old Port. However, Wachiya is much more than a simple boutique.
These are beautiful. What size are these?
Yuishchi's Nation Grand Chief Mandy Galnasty explains that it's also an important investment in the economy and culture of First Nations peoples.
Our intentions are to highlight our culture, create space for other nations to come in and showcase their arts and crafts, and most importantly, to be able to tell the history of the Cree Nation, the capacity of the Cree Nation, and to share the art that we have and celebrate.
Importantly, the Cree Nation owns and doesn't rent the building in which Wachiya is located.
One of the initiatives that we have under Cree Nation is an investment group, and we do have a real estate portfolio. I was really pleased when my friend Tammy Beauvais called me and said, there is a boutique up for sale in the Old Port, and she actually was the one who brought me to the location, showed me around, and we decided to embark on having this property be part of our real estate commercial commercial portfolio.
Wachiya means hello in Cree,
Marshy area would be good for ones with legs.
and its mission is to greet locals and tourists with authentic crafts directly sourced from EU artists and via the Cree Native Arts and Crafts Association.
Her beadwork is beautiful.
Executive Director Dale Cooper says this not only guarantees an original product, but also fair trade for the producers and artists.
Well, the goal with Wachiya was to kind of have an outlet for our artists, who are part of the Cree Native Arts and Crafts Association. So we wanted to kind of showcase their work, right, as well as their cultural teachings that they've learned over centuries.
Justin Heritage is general manager of the store. He guarantees that each piece is unique.
A big part of our store is giving out certificates of authenticity, letting you know exactly which artist you're buying from and which community they're from and when it was made. So this way you know exactly who you're helping and which community you're ultimately helping.
You could wear this inside, you could wear this while you're snowshoeing.
In an ocean of souvenir shops, often with mass-produced trinkets, Grand Chief Galnasty takes pride in offering such authentic products shared via the Cree Native Arts and Crafts Association.
The majority of the material from the store is sourced from this group. It is authentic, it is handmade, and we also have the ability to tell the story from when our hunters harvest the moose, to preparing the hide, to ensuring that that hide gets made into moccasins, that we can tell that story, that it is a full circle economy.
The name Wachiya.
Yeah, Wachiya.
Wachiya.
Beyond authenticity, Wachiya's goal is educating customers about the customs and traditional practices of First Nations peoples.
I was very lucky to have traditional grandparents that lived off the land. They were full-time trappers. Just going to visit them was an adventure in and of itself. It's given me a traditional knowledge that I'm grateful for, and has given me a sense of purpose in my life that I just knew it was my life's mission to kind of pass on this knowledge in any way I can.
We want to make sure that we're educating our customers on cultural appreciation versus appropriation. We have a wonderful team of staff, that can really educate our customers. So we want it to be a very welcoming atmosphere for them. Ask any questions they'd like. We're happy to share our culture.
Further enhancing this transmission of knowledge are exchanges around a tea and craft workshops offered at the store. Wachiya is much more than a simple shop. It's a vessel for Indigenous identity.
We want to showcase our culture, our identity, our history. We want to be the storytellers. We want to invite other First Nations to work with us and being able to showcase that there is an Indigenous presence here in Quebec and that we are part of the history.
Kim Sullivan, APTN National News, Montreal.
Time for a quick break, and then we're heading overseas to hear about a new way of diverting food waste from landfill. Stay with us. Welcome back. A unique treaty between Australia and Papua New Guinea is celebrating its 40th anniversary. The Torres Strait Treaty allows people in the region to move between the two countries without passports or visas. Now, Torres Strait Islanders are calling on both governments to honor the spirit of the treaty for generations to come.
A community celebration and a milestone for a groundbreaking treaty. On Saibai Island, just 4 kilometres from Papua New Guinea, leaders and descendants of those who negotiated the treaty gathered to celebrate an agreement that honours kinship and cultural ties dating back thousands of years.
First and foremost is maintain that family relationship that we've got from day one.
The treaty came into effect in February 1985 and covers 14 island villages in the Torres Strait and 13 coastal villages in Papua New Guinea. It allows passport and visa-free movement and trade within the treaty's protected zone.
It signifies not just an agreement, it is a living bridge that connects our communities across sovereign borders.
At first, traditional trade boomed, but now leaders say that's given way to people from PNG travelling south to access services.
We're seeing the influx coming into the Torres Strait because of the lack of services that's available on the other side. And it's putting a strain on our already underfunded, under-resourced, fatigue health system.
Elders say a review is needed, along with a collective voice to solve issues across the region.
The people from across the border, they were, left in the lurch. They sort of just trained that trade and barter themselves for cash economy themselves. They've got to survive. Still happening today.
Any change, it has to go through that process of accountability, transparency, and both partners on board to have their discussion.
Protecting a traditional way of life for generations to come. Carly Willis, NITV News.
An Aboriginal-owned enterprise in Darwin is pioneering a new way of diverting food waste from landfills. EcoMob uses dehydrator technology to turn food scraps into nutrient-rich soil, with hopes it could soon be used to bolster the local economy.
At a warehouse on the outskirts of Darwin in the Northern Territory, it's processing day.
What we do is empty the bins, put the waste on sorting tables, and then we process the food from there.
Food waste scoured for plastics and other contaminating materials.
Like that?
Yep. For Darwin local Brian Morris, what's more surprising is the food found.
A whole rump, whole chicken, corned beef, whole. Look, why throw it away?
Now turning it into something new at Darwin's first food waste dehydration facility. After a successful 12-month trial through contracts with local defence bases, plans for expansion are underway.
It's an opportunity for our mob to come in and learn about what we do and help try and heal. We're trying to heal country here basically, so divert it from landfill and use it as a product to put back into the ground.
Every year, Australians waste more than 7 million tonnes of food across the supply chain, costing the economy around $36 billion.
You got to start somewhere, so small steps. Hopefully, we get into bigger steps, and we start diverting a lot more food waste.
Once sorted, the food waste is piled into dehydrators, churning the food into a nutrient-rich byproduct. Testing is underway on how it will be used, with hopes of creating a plant fertiliser that feeds the local economy.
It'd be great for local communities, local farmers, local producers, because at the moment, they do get a lot of their produce from down south.
From plate to plant, saving food from landfill one bin at a time. Emma Kellaway, NITV News.
Thanks to our colleagues at NITV for those stories. Still to come tonight, we'll revisit some of our mother tongue teaching segments from I Love to Read Month. That's next. Welcome back. During the month of February, APTN was taking you to the roots of Indigenous languages for I Love to Read Month. T.R. Wheatley introduces you to a knowledge carrier who brings you a phrase of the day. Pamela Torres shares a Gitxsan song and its teachings with us now.
I'm Pamela Torres. I come from the House of the White Owl. My chief name is Ravensbeak. It's Alorach. I'm the youngest of 11 children, and it was hard being the youngest child, living up to my older siblings, their standards, and even though I'm fluent in my language, I didn't speak it. It's just a short song, a traditional song, and I can sing the first round. Yo, ayo, ayo, ha, hey. Yo, ayo, ha, hey. Lu am kodi wi o I ni. Yo, ayo, ha, hey. So that song comes from the house of Patpikot. The song says, my heart is happy and I love you. Basically how I live my life, I show compassion, love to whoever I meet. Currently, I hold the position as the Indigenous lead for sexual assault survivors. I was a restorative justice worker for 15 years, and that's the first time that I realized what residential school had done to our people. Now I'm on the other end of the spectrum, like working with the victims, and but I'm given this opportunity to bring in our own Indigenous teachings, or what traditional healings we use. Lo am kodi wi o ini yo ayo
For our second teaching today, T.R. Wheatley takes you to the Capilano village in British Columbia to hear from Victoria Fraser of the Squamish Nation.
Squile and Sikaltanat, Victoria Fraser Queen Holayton Sna, Scottmish Snachim noch so Chin, Scottmish Chin a Snanaimoch Chin, Chinwa a moat not Humolston Ochomeoch. I'm Sikaltanat. My English name is Victoria Fraser. I am a Squamish language teacher. The phrase that I'm going to say is, I'm happy to see you. Hotlan squall when Quin's Quatch know me. Hot is good. Then is my. Squallwin is feelings. Quin's Quatch know me, that I see you. There are different sounds in there that we don't find in English, like the like you're saying L, but you're still pushing out like you're saying teeth, like so hot. We have this underline KW, which is like a little further back in the mouth, and so it's like a sound. Squallwin. We have accents over our vowels, which tells us that the tone goes higher in that part of the word, and then it falls. So the rhythm of Squamish is it goes high and then it goes low. I didn't grow up with my language. I only started learning when I was 24. I'm 32 now, so I've dedicated a good 8 years, I guess, of just being raised in the language. Before that, I would listen to my language, well, both languages, because it's different from Vancouver to Vancouver Island. And just the feeling that I would get when I would hear it. I didn't know everything that was being said, but I felt it. Hotlan squall when Quin's Quatch know me.
And thanks to Victoria and the language and culture team at Squamish Indian Band for that lesson. To hear other phrases of the day, you can check out our website at aptnnews.ca/mother tongue teachings. That's all the time we have for this special edition of your APTN National News. You can stay up to date with the very latest by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy McGuitch, thanks for being with us. Have a great night.